I'm doing a updated electoral map prediction based on what the current polls say right now. In this video, I am only doing the prediction based off the current Real Clear Politics polling average. I am not using any other interpretation or such in this video. This is purely as the polls say it goes. Again, to be clear, this is not my final prediction. I did that a few days ago for the start of September. This is just what the polls say at this time. So the map starts out with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz at 226 electoral votes. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance start out with 219 electoral votes. And as I mentioned, I'll be using the Real Clear Politics Top Battlegrounds RCP average site. And the first state it has is the swing state of Arizona, where right now Donald Trump is 48% in the polls, Kamala Harris is 47%. That is a 1% lead for Donald Trump over Kamala Harris. So I'm not going to go to the electoral map and give Donald Trump the state of Arizona. I'm going to give it tilt because it's 1%. That brings Donald Trump up to 230. Harris Walz still at 226. Now to the state of Nevada, where this is actually a flip in recent days. Nevada was tied, and now Kamala Harris has taken a narrow lead over Trump in Nevada with 0.6% of the lead. That would also be in the tilt column. This time, Nevada goes tilt for Harris and Walz, 232 to 230 over Trump and Vance at this time. Next, we're going to go down to the state of Wisconsin. It's 10 electoral votes. Right now, Kamala Harris is a 1.4% lead over Donald Trump in this state, 48.2 to 46.8. So going to the electoral map, the state of Wisconsin right now is for Kamala Harris over Donald Trump, and actually being over 1 percentage points, over 1% of the vote, would put Wisconsin in the lean column for Harris, 242 to 230. Next, we're going to go to the state of Michigan, right next door to Wisconsin. The polls have tightened a little bit here. It's now getting closer than it was a few days ago. It is still a 1.1% lead for Harris in the state of Michigan with 1.1. So we're going to go and assign the state of Michigan to Kamala Harris narrowly in the lean column, 257 to 230 at this time. Now after Michigan, we're going to go to the state of Pennsylvania, where it is an exact tie. So we're actually just not going to change it for now. We're just going to leave it as a tie right now. The state of North Carolina, Donald Trump is a 0.7% lead over Kamala Harris right now. 0.7, that's under 1%. That is in the tilt column. Nonetheless, North Carolina goes for Donald Trump, 246 for Trump, 257 for Harris and Walz. And now we're going to go to the state of Georgia, where just recently Kamala Harris has taken a 0.1% lead over Donald Trump in the state of Georgia. Very, very close as you could possibly get. Kamala Harris now narrowly leading in this polling average in the state of Georgia. That gets her to 273, Trump Vance at 246. So based on the current polls right now in the Real Clear Politics polling average, Kamala Harris has 273 electoral votes, Donald Trump is 246, and Pennsylvania is the only state that's an exact tie that we cannot assign at this time. So what does this mean and what's happened? Well, for one thing is this is the first time, I think, in a decent time that Kamala Harris on the Real Clear Politics is not projected to actually beat Donald Trump on the electoral map. And I think the biggest indicator why is that the state of Georgia has now flipped blue. Because if I took away the state of Georgia from Harris, that would be 257 to 246, a tie in Pennsylvania and a 0.1% lead in Georgia. If Trump were to hypothetically win both of these states, that would get him to 281. That would get him over 270. So it's very much worthwhile saying that Georgia being a very, very narrow tilt for Harris in the polls right now in Georgia is a key reason that Harris is now, in this map, leading according to these polls. It's like I've been saying for a few videos now, which is I don't see a pathway to victory for Donald Trump without him winning Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. I think it's the simplest and easiest path for him to do, and I also think it is the most likely path for him to do. If Trump on election night does lose Georgia to Kamala Harris, I have a very hard time imagining Trump is losing Georgia while at the same time making up for it by winning Pennsylvania and then having to go somewhere else. So just to take you through the scenario, here's what I mean. Harris wins Georgia. Trump has to go in and win Pennsylvania. That's 265 to 273. Trump is already winning Arizona. Now Trump needs to find the electoral vote somewhere else, like in Nevada, for instance. It's certainly conceivable that this happens, where Trump gets 271, Harris gets 267 by winning Arizona, Nevada, and Pennsylvania. But what's important to note is historically, Georgia is a more Republican state than Nevada and Pennsylvania, so it's asking a lot out of those states for Trump to lose Georgia and to win these states. Again, it's just hypothetical scenarios right now, but it's interesting nonetheless just to show you, like, that's how things could certainly unfold on election night. So the main point right now is that, at least on the RCP average, as of today, September 4th, the day I'm recording this, Kamala Harris has taken a very, very narrow lead. The second most important thing I need to mention, which I've been mentioning for a while now, is just how close this race is. Again, of all the swing states, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them are all under 1% margin right now. All under 1%. And if you keep up with a lot of polls, you know, according to the sample size, things can change. Most margins of errors in polls are about 2 to 3 percentage points, maybe a little over 3 percentage points typically. So what that says is every single toss-up state right now is under the margin of error, which means, in my view, essentially the race is a tie in all those races. It can really go either way. Now, of course, once you get into it, I'm more inclined to trust the polls than not trust the polls, but it still says something just how close this is. Under 1% in North Carolina, under 1 in Georgia, under 1 in Arizona, under 1 in Nevada. Very close to being under 1 in Wisconsin and Michigan. This race is certainly the toss-up of all toss-up presidential races. This is not a blowout for Harris or Trump at this time. This race is especially very, very close. And the upcoming debate on September 10th may lead to some changing in the polls where maybe Harris or Trump will start to pull away depending on how they perform. But until something changes right now, I think this race will continue to be a very close nail-biter leading up until the election, and definitely one to stay tuned and keep watching about. So that'll do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a like, click subscribe, share with all your friends and family, and stay tuned because I'll be posting a video now until Election Day and every single day leading up to Election Day. So please keep tuning back in for that. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you in a future video.